Dum, da, da, dum, 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 dum. Welcome back to the first ever Chicago Bears Senior Bowl mock draft. As far as I know, this has never been done before, so it's a new idea that we're bringing to you. We're only going to use players that are participants in this year's Senior Bowl. So it's going to make it difficult because as of right now, there's only a handful or two of first-round prospects in the Senior Bowl, and the Bears have two top 10 picks, number 1 and number 9. So we are going to have to trade back a little bit. We're going to make it as realistic as possible. We're going to be difficult with it, but we're going to use PFF and Draft Buzz as well as Walter Football's rankings as a consensus to where these guys might land. We're not going to use my own personal because my own personal has some of them going higher, and we're going to make it so that we can make some of these drafts. So it's still going to be very realistic. So let's get right into what we do with this draft. First off, before the draft even happens, we're going to have our pre-draft trade. The Bears are going to strike a deal with the Commanders. You've seen several times on here where I've done number 2 for number 34, 41, and a second rounder. The Commanders balk a little bit at that. It is still a very fair value, and they're overpaying. If we get this year's second, they're both of their second-round picks, which is one of our own, 41, coming back to us, and next year's third. And the Bears are going to do that because they decide they're going to trade down again. Every one of you who wants to double trade down, here it is. The Bears successfully trade down with the Raiders. Still get a haul so the Raiders can come up and get their quarterback of the future as well at number 2. The only way the Raiders do this is if their guy doesn't get taken first overall. So we're going to say that the Commanders took Drake May, and the Raiders, who are very rumored to like Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams rumored to have said that one of the places he'd want to go is Las Vegas. Works out. So we get 113, 245, 377, 6, 209, and the next 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years' drafts from them. Works out for the Bears, works out for the Raiders. We move on. With our first pick, number 9 overall, the Bears are going to select Laiatu Latu, defensive end, UCLA. Now, before any of you say he got blown up by Talise Fuaga and all this stuff, you know what? Different things happen, and Talise Fuaga is this year's Darnell Wright down there at the Senior Bowl. A very, very comparable right guard. He's just a beast of a man. Laiatu Latu has had a very solid year, and I'm sure he's going to do very well down there. There's going to be different reports from different places. I have no problem taking Laiatu Latu 1-9 overall. So he's going to be our 9th overall pick in the draft, our first pick. And next, we are going to trade down from 113 to 120 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this makes sense because the Steelers are very much in need of a cornerback, and those top cornerbacks are going to go right at the beginning of these teens. So the Steelers want to secure their man. They want to get Kool-Aid McKinstry. They jump up from 120. They give up this year's second-round pick as well as their fourth-round pick. That value is extremely realistic for them. So the Bears trade back yet again. So we end up in the first round with number 9 overall and number 20 overall. And with that, I know, guys, this goes against what I say, but we're not going to get rid of Justin Fields. We're going to bring Bo Nix in, and the new staff is going to have 2 quarterbacks to work with, and iron sharpens iron. It's not my ideal, but this is the scenario we're going with. So here's all of our draft picks. After those first 2, we're getting Laiatu Latu, Bo Nix, and then we're going to have, look at this craziness we've created. 234, 241, 245, 252, 373, 377, 4111, 4120. You can see it there. So let's get along with our picks. We're going to go fairly quick from the rest of the way out here. We're going to get through all these first 2-day picks. There's 8 of them, and then 3 in the 4th round, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. With our 34th pick, we pick Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina, one of my favorite prospects in this draft. You can see his stats there, 6'3", true X receiver. He is a solid X receiver. And sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Let's go back to Xavier Legette. Huge man with huge yak potential, with just breakaway speed as well as elusiveness and running back style skills once he has the ball in his hand, like DJ Moore. So Xavier Legette, DK Metcalf comparisons, and with some of our new coaching staff coming from Seattle, maybe they like that. Maybe they want to bring him in and have him work with the new receivers or the new quarterback. We'll see what happens there. Next, we have Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon. Many of you know he's one of my favorites in this draft. To me, he's one of those that you write down on the slip of paper, must have no matter what, and you take him. He'll be the Bears' new center of the future. All right, we get a swing tackle option to come in and compete with Braxton Jones. We got Patrick Paul here in the second round out of Houston. I think he's a great pick for us to get that option to compete with Braxton Jones. Next up, we're going to have Javon Bullard, free safety out of Georgia. He's impressing me more and more that I look into him. The biggest thing about Bullard is the passer rating against him in the college level has been elite, and I expect that to translate to the NFL, so I think he would be a huge addition for us. We're not going to go with Zach Zinter, as we've been frequently doing, because he's not in the Senior Bowl. He's injured. We're going to take Christian Haynes, who's also very impressive to me. Christian Haynes will be our 73rd pick in the 2024 draft, 6'2", 313. Give us an option if Nate Davis isn't working out so well. All right, now with our 77th pick, we're going to trade down and get more value again. We're going to trade down from 77 with the Buccaneers, get 89, 127, their 4th-round pick, and next year's 5th-round pick. With that, we're going to take Cade Stover. He's going higher and higher in these drafts. I really like Cade Stover, converted linebacker. He doesn't ever drop the ball. His hands, literally 0.0% drop rate this year for Ohio State, and he's a great blocking. 65% doesn't show the whole story there. He is a great blocker. All right, so now the Bears are going to trade up, and this is common. This happens in the draft quite a bit. When we get to the end of day 2, that 103 pick is very valuable. Teams want to trade up for it, so the Bears are going to trade a little bit of a premium for it. They're going to trade with the Panthers. The Panthers are going to enjoy doing this, get a little bit of value back from the Bears. They're going to get the Bears 111th to 122nd from Pittsburgh, as well as next year's 5th-round pick to trade up to 103, and we're also going to get 141. So we're pick swapping and giving them a pick to do this, and this very much maps out to a realistic trade right here. So that's what the Bears are going to do to be able to trade up. The reason we're doing that is because I have Darius Robinson very high on my boards. I think he's going at the end of the 3rd round. If he didn't get picked at the end of the 3rd round, this is something realistic that would happen. Teams would fight in the gap of days, between the days, to come up and get that player, get the first pick in the 4th round. The Bears do that. They end up getting Darius Robinson, defensive lineman out of Missouri. He can play multiple roles like DeMarcus Walker can. He can play in different gaps. He can play on the edge. He can play in 3 technique. He can play different roles. All right, with 124th pick, we're going to take Marshawn Lloyd, running back out of USC. He's going to help us replace Deonta Foreman. A lot of positive about him. He does need to work on his pass blocking, as you see on his grades down there. Marshawn Lloyd's a great prospect. He used to be at South Carolina, transferred to USC. All right, someone who's rising on my board the more I look into him is Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, wide receiver out of Georgia. And I love the contested catches that he has, and I love that he doesn't ever drop the ball as well. So he's someone I think we could look into some more. Now, with the 145th pick, the Bears are going to take A.J. Barner, tight end out of Michigan, rising my boards more and more. He's down at the Senior Bowl, excited to see what he does. Big body tight end. I realize we've already taken Cade Stover, but this will fill our tight end room, and we'll have a deep stacked tight end room. With our last pick at 209, we're going to take a backup center. Guys, we don't have depth on the line, so we're going to take Charles Turner III, who also didn't allow very many sacks, hits, or hurries at all in college. So I like him as a backup prospect to develop. And with that, here are our selections for the Senior Bowl mock draft. You can take a minute and look over it. We'll show you how they relate into the team, how they incorporate with the rest of our offseason. But there's the guys that we ended up selecting. And we also, this is our next year's draft picks. Our 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th. Plus a first rounder in 2026 from Las Vegas, giving up 2. And it's about time we fleeced Las Vegas, because they got us in the past for a similar type of trade in the draft. So it's just time to reciprocate that. All right, so here is our offense. We got Justin Fields still with Bo Nix backing him up, Tyson Bagent. This is very similar to what Jordan Love type of thing, a late round, first round pick who sits and develops. I like it. You never know what could happen there. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Cade Stover, A.J. Barner. That is a deep tight end room. Cole Kmet is now the veteran. And I know that sounds weird, but he has been in the league for 4 years, so makes sense. On the offensive line, we got Jackson Powers Johnson as our starting center. We've got a backup with Charles Turner. We've got Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis with Christian Haynes coming in to be able to rotate. I like that a lot. This is a very solid interior offensive line to me. Then we've got Darnell Wright, Patrick Paul, Braxton Jones, and Larry Borum. Larry Borum shouldn't ever see game time unless there's an injury, but that is a solid right and left tackle with Braxton Jones being a swing tackle. I think that's just, and maybe Braxton Jones beats out Patrick Paul. Who knows? They're both solid. They're both very similar, but solid players. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Xavier Legette. We signed Curtis Samuel in free agency. Tyler Scott, Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint, and Bayless Jones. That's a very improved wide receiver room, guys. I know it's not the ideal Marvin Harrison Jr., but remember, this is going off the Senior Bowl projection that we have to use Senior Bowl players, and Xavier Legette is the best Senior Bowl wide receiver out there. So I know this one handicapped us a little bit, but I still like Xavier Legette. Running backs, we got Marshawn Lloyd to come in with Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson. And then we're going to go to our defense, and here's the big thing on defense. We're going to sign Leonard Williams, free agent out of Seattle. They traded for him from New York Giants last year. He's a free agent. I know there's no tie there to the coaching staff we brought over because ours are offensive, he's defensive, but we do end up getting him. The big knock was on his pass rushing, that he was a great run defender. But this year he balled out, and he showed he had a career year on pass defense as well in getting pass pressures and hurries. And so I think he's well worth the investment. He's not as expensive as some of the other ones, only $15 to $17 million a year. So a 3-year deal, I think that's a great signing for us if we did that. Latu, as well as Darius Robinson, who can play multiple roles like DeMarcus Walker. So I really like that defensive line. The secondary, we re-signed Jalen Johnson. We get Javon Bullard. It's a very improved secondary with Javon Bullard, in my opinion, with his passer rating against him. I do like Eddie. I think Bojack was great for us, but he's just kind of outlived that contract, and it's time to let him go. I didn't put it on here, but that does leave us with plenty of salary cap, over $20 million in salary cap, guys, 25, I believe. And so there's plenty of room to do extensions, to do contract talks, see how this team goes, and it leaves us in very, very solid salary cap space. And it also addresses some of those things that some of the Fields haters are worried about by drafting Bo Nix, who I think is one of the best prospects of this draft. He's one of my favorites. I like him more than Caleb Williams. Whether you agree with that or not, I really do like Bo Nix more. And if we trade it down a couple times, I really think we can still get him at 20. I don't see us getting rid of Justin Fields. I don't see that happening. But the coaching staff may want to work with new quarterback, and Bo Nix gives us an option. Maybe it creates controversy. Who knows? But maybe iron sharpens iron. All right, there is our first ever Chicago Bears Senior Bowl mock draft. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button if you don't mind. Share it if you don't mind. And until next time, bear down.